Yeah, and no Ozempic, no drugs, no nothing. Like I take supplements and vitamins. I actually, funny side note, I got like trolled by people I don't even know when I started posting that I was working out. I was like, give me a break. I do social media for a living. People don't come at me. I like lose some weight. People are like, he's on Ozempic. It must be like people literally sent me things and then like tried to unsend them, but I had already saw them type deal. So yeah, I don't get involved with that, but I'm very, very competitive. And I'll just be honest, I took a huge break from working out, from being healthy. Basically, for the last like 7 years, I just helped scale the business that we'll talk about a little bit, but and just be with my family and work and kind of perform on what I thought I could.
Welcome to the WillPower podcast, where we uncover the secrets of success and share the wisdom of exceptional individuals. I'm your host, William Gomez, and as a real estate professional, I bring you insights from the world of real estate and beyond. Join me as I engage in captivating conversations with incredible guests from diverse backgrounds and industries, from top real estate moguls to trailblazing entrepreneurs and influencers. We dive into the mindsets and habits of successful people. If you love what you hear, don't forget to rate and review. Get ready to be inspired, motivated, and enlightened. Live life today on WillPower. Matt Giesow, thank you so much for, did I pronounce it right?
Giesow. You got it, man.
Dude, man, what? Can you pronounce my last name right?
Gomez.
It's actually Julio Gomez. I have two last names.
There we go.
So
Trick question.
We're even now.
That's perfect.
Dude, thank you so much for coming on, man.
Yeah, man. It's my pleasure.
So one of the questions that I get asked all the time is, how do you pick people to come on, you know? And it's funny because from you, I feel like I've known you for a long time, like from afar.
Yeah.
Even though like we actually just connected on social media.
True.
But we were friends on Facebook.
Yep.
I'm scrolling like everybody does. And then I see your transformation picture. And I'm like over here like, wait, what? and then you got, that was my hook, you know? And then I was like, I got to read the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then so I read your whole thing, and then I go into exactly how much you lost, which was 60 pounds.
Yep, I'm down 61 pounds, but it's still before 5 months in. So
61
it's like
pounds, 0.2 ounces. You're tracking everything.
Yeah. Oh, dude, meticulous.
And then the time frame, like just a little bit over 4 months.
Yeah, and no Ozempic, no drugs, no nothing. Like I take supplements and vitamins. I actually, funny side note, I got like trolled by people I don't even know when I started posting that I was working out. I was like, give me a break. I do social media for a living. People don't come at me. I like lose some weight. People are like, he's on Ozempic. It must be like people literally sent me things and then like tried to unsend them, but I had already saw them type deal. So yeah, I don't get involved with that, but I'm very, very competitive. And I'll just be honest, I took a huge break from working out, from being healthy. Basically, for the last like 7 years, I just helped scale the business that we'll talk about a little bit, but and just be with my family and work and kind of perform on what I thought I could, eat fast food whenever I wanted to. Gym's fine. I lift heavy stuff during the day. Like, I don't need that. And eventually it just got to the point, Jenna, my wife, back in October was like, hey, Crunch Fitness opened up. Like, we had been to like 10 Gym and Planet Fitness, and I just could never get in a routine of getting my butt there, just getting there, right? Once I got there, it's like, I don't care if you're on the treadmill, the bike, you split half that time and just go do some lifts that you like, just get your heart rate up. I could always do that, but I never wanted to go. I just never made the time, right? I'd be like, I'll do push-ups at home or something, just something that was like calisthenic. And it didn't work. My heaviest weight, I was like 264, which was where I kind of started like looking at pictures of myself. I never wanted to be on camera because camera adds weight too. And I was always like, I'll help our clients look good. But like, that was a big reason, like underlying reason why I didn't do a lot of talking stuff for Vast, just because people who would know me, they know the work that we do. But as far as being the salesman, I didn't want to do that. It was kind of a fear a little bit. But yeah, so what happened, I just joined a gym and was like, if I cut out eating fast food, just that. I was a big Whataburger fan. Like, that was just my.
So is my wife. I'm not a big
I just love burgers, man.
I like hole in the wall burger places. I don't like fast food burger places.
But Whataburger is like like I'm from Michigan, so like
Yeah.
that's a Texas, like it's thick, it's bigger, and I'm
Yeah.
like, this is fast food, this is great. McDonald's, whatever, 2 totally different
Yeah,
cheeseburgers, right?
you'd probably have to pay me to eat like a Burger King burger, bro.
Yeah.
Those
Oh,
look nasty.
How are they still around? Like they still have good
like a-
marketing, and I'm like, man, they're just going to
Crazy.
town. No one at the line at Burger King. But anyway, I was like, no fast food, and if I could just go to the gym, and I'll eventually start to like just either like this or fall into, or I'll just have to fight it and be like those people that feel miserable that it's so hard to get to the gym twice a week. And it's like, but they did it, and it's something to be celebrated. But there's something to be said about just like programming your mind into like, this is the routine. Not like you have to kill yourself every day, but you got to do something every day. And that for me, I never made that discipline in my life. I would do a lot of other things every day. I'd go on my phone. I'd do all these things that were just mindless instead of just like going for a walk or riding a bike. Or I would get like sore from doing that stuff because I was so inactive. So started going to the gym, excuse me. And it started as like 3 days a week. Jenna is like ruthless in her gym routine. She goes super early. So I was always like a little intimidated because she already had her workout in. And it was always like, Matt, what are you like? Are you working out today? So I eventually got tired of that question, and I was like, yes, I'm working out today. Yeah, I already got this plan, whatever. Well, I had to find cardio that I liked, and I was a football player, so I was like, I like going hard for 6 seconds at a time, like really giving a push, letting your heart rate go down. So I'm like HIIT training, right? A lot of HIIT guys and CrossFit people. I might not be that hardcore, but like, what do they do for cardio? And I found the Echo bike, the Rogue Echo bike. You call it an assault bike, whatever you want to call it. I loved that thing. And I did not train on it like in an orthodox way. I was like, if I could stay on this thing first I started as 20 minutes. Pushes, non-pushes, abs on it, whatever, just stay on it and track my heart rate. See how many calories I burn. When I get off that, I'll probably want to go lift for a little bit. And then after that, I might want to go on the treadmill. Hey, I just had 45 minutes at the gym and I burned like 650 calories. Like this is good. It's sustainable. Mm-hmm. And if it's not, it never was going to like 100%. Stick around.
I'm glad that you said that you started with 3 days a week.
Yep.
Because a lot, like I work out, like I have to stop myself from working out 7 days a week because rest is important.
Right.
And then a lot of the times when people, want to talk to me about, fitness, they're like, hey, I just started and I'm going 5 days a week or 6 days a week. And I'm like, that's the worst thing that you could do.
It's really hard. It's pretty overwhelming in the beginning. You have to work your stamina up to like, it got to a point where my body, like I needed to do, like you ask how I did it in that short of a time by just being militant. Like it's not for everyone.
You told me that you're competitive, and I can definitely see that when people started talking about Ozempic, which honestly my mind didn't go there at all, but I think it goes about how people just want to attack per se, like people that are winning.
Right.
They're like, oh, like I've been trying to lose weight for a long time. Like, he's definitely got to be taking a shortcut. Yeah. And then it's honestly kind of the same. Ozempic has been like, somebody made it a TikTok the other day on calling a pharmacy, like a prank call, saying like, hey, I'm trying to get on Ozempic. Can I put the order of my prescription? And the lady was like, hey, it's out like in the entire state. I don't even know what state it was. Yeah. And the girl goes, it was a guy that was doing the prank call, and he said, is it out for diabetic people or for people that are just wanting to lose
actors weight? And people in the industry? And
then the guy, the lady on the other line was like, it's for everybody.
For everybody.
But that's honestly the same thing as somebody has been working out their entire life, let's say, and they're just shredded. They've never been overweight, but it's like, oh, that guy's doing steroids.
Yeah, right.
And then your competitiveness part of it, you're just like, dude, why? But let me ask you, you're competitive, but do you have an addictive personality?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
the answer. Right?
I'm an activator. when I get, like for working out for me, I just had to get like ticked off enough to just start going. Yeah. Right. And then I was like, oh, like I've joined gyms before. And then like, if I can't keep my mind focused on something, it's going to be, it's in the mind, right? Cause like your body's going to be tired one way or the other. You're supposed to go do this. Not because it's religious or because like someone's telling you have to, because when you do, you like lower your risk of dying. Like literally I had to break it down to, I was very unhealthy at 35. I had a ton of visceral fat. Like I had like things that I was trying to seek medical help for, and they wouldn't put me on things that I know would help me because I had like higher blood pressure. I wasn't on blood pressure medication, but I mean, I was like, we have stairs at our house. I was out of breath every time going up to the top floor. And it just got old because I was a football player. I always saw myself as an athlete.
Yeah.
But I'm not out on the field anymore. So it's like pickup games and what are you doing to stay active? And I wasn't doing anything. So just getting active. The cool part about like the assault bike for me was I felt like it was like a football practice. I could just have a normal pace ride where I could get my heart rate up. And then all of a sudden, whatever's on my headphones gets me in the zone. I can push as hard as I can because those bikes are designed to like the harder you push, the more resistance, the louder the bike and the faster it sounds like you're going. So it feeds your mind into thinking, push even harder, push even harder, push even harder. And then your legs are getting tired, so you're pushing harder with your arms because when you get to that fail point, I was like happy with where I would feel. Like it's just a feeling like you never have. But then like stopping and resting, letting my heart rate come down, not all the way down. All right, now we're back on it. All right, and then when I get ticked off enough, boom, I think about something someone said, whatever, I'll just do a push. For me, that is weight training, and I'm a kind of a lazy guy, even though it doesn't seem that way. I wanted to get cardio and weights in all at the same time. So in 4.5 months, I mean, I just started hitting weights like a week and a half ago, mainly because old Matt, when I'd lift, I just, like, I wanted to actually lose weight. And I understand, you know, nutritionists will say, obviously, like, I've got to add that muscle too so that it's burning but I just didn't want to blow up yet. Like, I'd like to get my weight down and get, like, to where I can do pull-ups. Never been able to do those in my life.
Really?
Like, just even as a big guy, like, I played linebacker. I'm 5'10 and a half, 5'11". I'm not the tallest guy, but I was always 225. Just like your fullback type weight, and just I was quick. I wasn't fast. I was quick.
You got to go to CrossFit to get those butterfly pull-ups.
That's what I'm saying,
dude. The difference between like the max pull-ups I can do like strict is like maybe 20-ish.
Yeah.
And we just did a PR the other day. It was like 82 unbroken pull-ups. But
that's insane.
But that's one thing that people from like regular gyms always make fun of CrossFitters. They're like, that's not a real pull-up. But it's
a full body pull-up.
It took a long time to do. So have you ever, you know David Goggins?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You were talking about how you were looking at those messages. So I was listening to a podcast of his, and he was talking about that he loves when he gets negative mail and stuff, because what he does is he records it. He reads it out loud.
Nice.
And he listens to it whenever he goes on his runs. And that's what motivates him.
Yeah. Jenna can attest. She'll come in and my home gym. So I bought an Echo bike.
Okay.
So I fell in love.
I have one too, by the way.
God,
have you ever been on an assault bike?
I've never rode an assault bike. The one they have at Crunch is Stairmaster's version.
Okay.
So I looked it up. That's what I fell in love with, right? So I'm like, I'm going to buy one of these. Dude, they're like $4,000.
Are you serious?
It's a triple belt. And I'm like, okay. So what's everyone else use? Then I went to what's the hardest one and lowest maintenance, and Rogue, because it's a belt and they're just heavier. They're harder to move. But you know what? The one at the gym now, when my legs get tired, I like to let off. And then the arm should get heavier so I can lean into it with my core. It doesn't at the gym. And I'm like doing this like, oh my God, I'm going really fast and I'm trying to catch up. So I end up just stopping and doing this. But on the Rogue, it's like you're pushing against resistance.
The Rogue is
it's hard to get started.
And how much? It's been a while since I bought it. Was it like $1,500 or something?
$850, dude.
Oh, it's $850.
We sold our Peloton that was like $2,500 that sat over there, collected dust. I did a couple classes, nothing against it, loved it. But I was like, I really want something that's going to shred my upper body while getting like just me stamina and shape. And no one in the road community that I know goes on an Echo bike for over an hour. Oh. I do every single time. I throw on a show.
Dude, that
is
crazy.
Because when I'm tired, I just bring it down. Now, does everyone have an hour to do that? No, but that's my whole workout. It's an hour. It's 1,000. You're going to say this is nuts. This is how I lost all the weight. 1,000 calories on the Echo bike, not on the screen, on my watch. Okay. So it usually is about 680 on the Rogue screen. On the K calories versus your heart rate tracking it. So.
And those calories get you motivated, because for me, it's
a game.
I do CrossFit, but like I'll like run and then I'll do cycle. Like I just got on the bike for the first time in, I don't know, like 4 months or so.
Yeah.
And I went and did 70 miles on the bike. Yeah. And then I looked down and I'm like, dude, I've burned 2,800 calories. Yeah. I'm like, I can go eat whatever I want.
It's insane. It gives you freedom in like your nutrition. Then I got a little anal about that. Not a little, like I'm eating a ton of hard-boiled eggs. I'm eating a lot of high protein. Like, is it carnivore? No. Is it keto? No. Do I still eat peanut butter and that has sugar in it? Yeah. Have I cut out sugar? For the most part. So I like Celsius. It's pretty typical, like trendy, but like I loved Red Bull and I did drink pop. And like the only pop Jenna and I drink is Coke Zero because it's like the only diet drink that I think tastes like it's not Coke, but it's comparable.
I never
I'm
drank.
Not a fan, so.
Yeah, I never noticed the difference, but I never was a pop person. Like I stopped drinking pop in like middle school, and then I just like never went.
It's
back.
not good for you.
It like made me feel bloated.
Yeah.
But now that I'm like cycling and I'll go like on 70, 100-mile bike races. Dude, a Coke in the middle of it. I didn't realize how much energy and like the sodium helps you and everything. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So this is why I wanted to have you on. By the way, you're one of the easiest people to talk to.
Thanks.
But man. I want, before we kind of keep going on, that was the starter. The reason why I've known you from afar for a long time is because I just asked you before the podcast, what percent of your business is agents, real estate agents? And you said about 60%. Mine's about 87%, which that's kind of how we cross paths there.
Sure.
If you go back, you not only are you this crazy guy that loves movies and loves to lose weight, but you have this multi-million-dollar media company that you started from nothing. Yeah. And what year did you start that company?
So it started in 2018, in like 4th of July, 2018. I started doing my first appointments. Vast Media had not been born yet. And officially it launched January 1, 2019. Were we doing like 6 months of business? Matt was just like hustling for 6 months, figuring out, is this a business? Is this a hobby? Because I still had jobs. Like at the time, like it wasn't my full thing. It never was my full thing until it was my full thing. You know?
So one of the things I like to ask people is like, what was it that made you kind of start? Or like what and I remember I know that you in 2018 you went on a mission trip.
Yep.
You went just to film because you're already doing that, and then somebody that was preaching. Tell us a little about that.
Yeah. So I even before that I sold. So I worked in the ministry world as well, and I got to go on a mission trip to Africa. And this was the first trip I had ever been on where my only responsibility for the trip was to capture everything that's happening. Cool job, right? Photo, video, miracles that were happening. We were in Kenya for a week, and then we were in Uganda for a week. When we went to Uganda, we were at a mega church, and they had been in like revival for the last 7 years. So what that means for those of us that don't experience revival very often, their church services were every day. And they start at 7 p.m. and they'd go till about 3 a.m. And they'd go in waves of like worship, healings, message, back into worship, back into testimonies, worship. Like it's just, and it was like nothing I've ever seen before because these are like thousands of people. They have this huge church and they meet outside because the facilities to facilitate everyone coming in and out of the building, it's not needed. It was like old school tent revival. Anyway, I got to capture so many cool things. People getting up out of wheelchairs, like blind eyes being open, like stuff that you see Bible times that I'm like, man, that was missing off the bucket list. I read about it in the Bible all the time. You don't always see that in America.
And this was in 2018.
Yeah. This was 17, 18. Yeah, right before I transitioned. So anyway, I was self-taught camera. I went to YouTube University. Before that, the church I was at, I actually asked a lot of questions. When I was there, I started doing videos for like kids ministries, kind of how I got even started in that. But when I was on that trip, the pastor was speaking over a bunch of different people, and I'm just, eyes through the lens and everything. And then he stops the whole thing and he calls me up there, like where I had to like, wait, is he talking to me? So I handed my camera to one of the guys. I went up there. He had no idea I was praying about like leaving my full-time job, and starting this business or starting this idea, starting to market what we could do for real estate agents and people in the industry in Tulsa. And I did that. I went up and he said, Lord, give him wisdom. He's got a really big decision to make, but all I see is, multi-million-dollar media is what he said. And I, Pentecostal or not, I fell out and like the whole rest is history. And I just took that and I told my wife when I got back, and it was just one of those like faith words that's kind of deposited. And I like took that and was like, all right, that's the green light from, you want to call God, higher power, whatever it was for me. I mean, like I serve Jesus, and I took that as the Holy Spirit saying, like you can do this. And even if like you're not going to be able to do all of it, but like if you have the faith to step out and actually do it, I'm going to bless that, whether it's multi-million-dollar, whether it's a couple invoices to a couple different realtors. Like I wanted to be able to do what I felt like I didn't teach myself, but like you had to have the willpower, just like to go to the gym, the willpower, right? To actually like do it, you have to do half the work. Like I'm always like, do everything you can in the natural and like do everything you can in the supernatural is what like let them kind of come together. Because if I'm praying for something but not doing anything in the natural to actually make it happen, you're not plowing the ground. You're not getting it ready for God to just show up and like do a miracle.
That is one of my biggest things. People are like praying for God to provide and they're like unemployed and not applying for any jobs. And it's like, dude, that's,
or I have like family, it's like, oh, I'm praying to be healed from diabetes, but I won't stop like drinking. You know what I'm saying? It's comical, but it's not, because like eventually one day you wake up, you're like, I can't walk up the stairs without being out of breath. Like I forget, like, what are my kids going to see for the rest of their lives? I want my 2 little girls to like know that daddy wants to wrestle with them and I'm not like throwing my back out, getting down on the floor. Like so anyway, I don't even know where we got off on that, but he spoke that.
What I was asking, you said you kind of started in 2018, but really went live in 2019.
2019.
And then I remember you telling me that, and I was like, I bet that's whenever you were like, all right, I got to do this.
That's when like website was put into, well, I mean, when you launch a business, right, it's like a side hustle until it's not, right?
Yeah.
Until you make enough money to where like for a tax reason, it needs to be this, X, Y, Z. It took me about 5 months to figure that out, figure out who my clientele was. Do I have enough to quit my job? Like how much are we making?
And that was in 2018.
That was at the end of 2018. So when we say vast established 2018, it hadn't even really had that name quite yet. It did. Jenna came up with the name, by the way. So
love it.
Yeah.
Where did it come from?
I was like, sounds stupid, but I was like, I don't want it to be a real estate company. I don't want it to be a commercial production. I want it to be like any media. People need media, especially in today's world, to get their message out, their product out, or create value in what's already out there, right? So it's like you fall in one of those 3 or 4 camps, or there's nothing, and we have to like inception, like plan it. I like helping people do that because Hollywood's like a really big, daunting place. Like I have a lot of like dreams and passions. Like I want to shoot movies and stuff like that too. It's almost overwhelming. And you'd think someone like me, like I'm in that world all the time. It's still overwhelming because I haven't done that all the time. What I have done is figured out a system of how do we capture homes that are for sale or businesses or whatever in the area to portray them in the best light possible so that people have to fight over who's going to put the bid in first or whatever. That's our job. And if we've done our job well, I should help make you money. And if I help make you money, that's attached to a psychological feeling in your life that now I need vast to be successful, right? When I get a listing, I don't want it to be a pride thing. I want it to be, we're just part of the process for you. Whether you want to hire someone in-house or whether you want to outsource the entire operation to us, we white label it the same for anybody. Like we promote who we work with on our page. It's not like no one like pays us to post their postings. Like if you had a nice listing and we shot it, or you had a trailer and we shot it, if we made it look nice, like we might market it a certain way. Like all content's pretty good content, right? Like there's so many people that don't have any content. So I fell in love with, how did I fall in love with like helping people do that? It was before I worked in ministry. I sold cars. And so I do have a little bit of a car salesman in me, and I had never sold cars before then. And I started working for Volkswagen right at the time their like $19 billion TD diesel lawsuit hit. If you don't know what that was, they were putting cheat devices in their diesel engines in North America. Why were they cheating? They were only cheating in places like Oregon, and their emissions were dirtier. And it knew when it was being connected and tested on a dyno, and it wouldn't output that particle. And on the road, someone in West Virginia University found it. It was like a fluke. Anyway, so I have all these terrible, like pissed off, like Volkswagen customers, and they're wanting to give me their 2015 Jetta, and we're giving them a check for like $18,000. It's like 4 years old. It was a lawsuit sale. So my job was to keep that money on the lot and get them to buy a gasoline version when they're like diehard TDI people. I had to learn a lot about the industry and a lot about why Volkswagens, still their gas cars, are superior in a lot of ways to some of the other competitive brands that like I can test them, right? Because we usually have used cars on the lot. You can test them. I fell in love with being able to land people by adding value. If you don't want a Volkswagen, you wouldn't have walked here, right? You already know what the price is. That's the terrible thing. The days of like haggling are over. It's called the internet. Like the price is there, and if they don't get that price or lower, they're ticked. So I've got to add all the value and hope that I can actually raise that price by adding more value in all the extra stuff, right? It's the only way you really like make money. Well, I thought to myself after I got out of that industry, man, if I knew everything I know now about video, I would have been a killer salesman because I would have been doing all this stuff. Hey, mention this ad and I'll take $500 off your car deal. You know what I mean? Whatever it was that was a hook that I knew how to play my managers a little bit. Yeah. I knew what was too much to ask. So I would negotiate with, I'm working for you, right? Person wants to buy it. They're asking for way too much off. I'm not going to be that guy. Just, let me go check with my manager. Talk to him about the Thunder game or something. No, like, let's just be honest. You can either get that price or you can't. Yeah. So I'm a little dangerous because I don't ask for too much, but I always know that sweet spot that's going to tick them off a little bit. But like, we'll give it to you. We're not going to let them walk a car deal walk over that. And I enjoyed that. So now fast forward, I'm in ministry and I'm getting ready to step into this role of like creating content for people that actually makes money, that has something to do with people's like livelihood and their career. And at the very least, if you still have a hard time selling a house, there is such a thing as like, it's overpriced. It doesn't matter how good of media we do on it. But even in that scenario, the agent or the client, whoever hired us, they stand to win because your branding looks sweet.
Yeah.
Like you're always investing in yourself. And some people want to do that the cheapest way possible. And other people have seen it done and they just want to copy that. And other people are like us, like they're like they have a disciplined mindset, whether everyone else is doing something or not. I'm going to do this. And that's when you get the inbox messages like, hey man, I really like what you're doing. And you're like, I was talking about that a couple of months ago. And like no one else, because it's a vision, right? Like not everyone can make it happen, but you need to surround yourself with people that can.
Dude, and one of the things that I love to ask at the very end of, I used to do it at the very end of every podcast, and then I kind of pick and choose now. Yeah. But I want to bring it up now, and I always like to know like what the biggest piece of advice that people have. And the biggest thing that stood out to me when you told me is that your gift will make a way. Yeah. And that literally spoke so much to me, because what you're telling me, you got that word when you were out in 2018 before you really just big risk, big reward.
Multi-million-dollar media. Dude, I'm like living on a ministry salary, like barely, you know what I'm saying? Just being real. But like nothing wrong with it.
But the first year you go out and make $250K for the business, and then most people have to wait a long time before the prophecy that was given to them that to come to life. Yeah. But I think the reason why yours, and let's say for me on my end, I actually started as a loan officer February 1st of 2018. Okay. And dude, the amount of people that told me like, hey, like it's going to be tough, right? Yeah, right. Because, and I went in thinking I knew like 10% of the business. I really knew 1% of the business. Right. But it's when you know your gift, if that's truly what you're supposed to be doing, it's gonna make the way for that success, dude.
If you've heard or you're led or you get a direction that way, like it's always like proceed with caution. Don't run full speed, but just like I'm like, I pray about a lot of stuff, and I like, ask, hey, if this isn't what you want, like, please, like, I'm kind of dumb sometimes, raise red flags, like, you know what I mean? And everyone knows that feeling when I shouldn't do something. So if that's not present and you're acting in faith, like your gift will make a way was something that a pastor, mentor of mine in the past had told me. He said, Matt, no matter what you do, whether it's ministry, business, it was actually my pastor at Teen Challenge. That's another conversation for another podcast. Unless you're going to get there.
Before we get there, dude, I am curious about that. Yeah. So 20 years old, you almost went to jail for 20 years?
Yeah. So
dude, okay. Yeah. I know that we're taking a curveball right here, but I want to hear this.
Yeah. So I ended up in Teen Challenge. Those of you guys that don't know, Teen Challenge is an incredible program, helps anyone with life-controlling issues, but it's a faith-based program. And it's hard. I mean, it's not the Salvation Army. It's very rigorous days, and you're serving, you're going to church like every day, and you're basically, they don't deal with like medication rehab. They deal with pulling the root of sin out of your life, which is a lack of a relationship with Jesus Christ, who can like dissolve all of that. So yeah, in college and high school, I was a hoodlum. I went and played college football at a place called Ferris State University up in Big Rapids, Michigan. Got there, realized very quickly I was not the cream of the crop anymore. When you're all state, and then you get to, I was not at a state university that was like really large. So like once you started to boil down to, I was kind of starting to lose interest. I've been playing football for 13 years. That would have been like my 14th year or whatever.
What did you play?
I played linebacker. I played a lot of things, but inside, outside linebacker, and then I played fullback a little bit on offense.
Nice.
3rd and 2, I'd get that first. So anyway, but I didn't know Jesus growing up, and, you know, I liked the party lifestyle. I started drinking when I was in like 8th grade, smoking pot, stuff like that. Well, I went to college, and I was just like, I was butting heads with my father the whole time right before I moved out. We have a great relationship, my family, but it was just rebellion, you know, like, and I earned this scholarship, peace out. Like I would go to school and like never come home. Even when I had like weekends where I could, and that used to like kill my parents. Well, long story, try to be a little bit shorter. I was drunk one night and broke into a bunch of cars and went car hopping. But what you don't know about that story is a year before that, I had been arrested for manufacturing and delivering marijuana out of my house. So it was one of my friends had wore a wire into my house for like 6 months, undercover type deal. So when they came to arrest me, they like arrested a lot of people and already knew everything. So I was on probation for that going into my junior year in college, gonna start over fresh. Just bad
was it
Matt.
By yourself, or
I was by myself.
So this was all year.
I was drunk. I like went into a car and I was like, that was easy. I wonder what else I can get. The next morning I woke up with like, I had everything from like, you know, back in the day, people's like CD books and stuff, like GPS. I mean, this is like 2008. So 2008. So it was just, I woke up, knew I was in trouble. Someone had already filed a report, and long story short, I got caught at the bookstore. Of all the things, I was selling stolen textbooks because I had taken some people's backpacks, so you get cash for that. And I didn't want all this stuff I had taken. I was like, I need some cash. Idiot, right? Dude, so I get caught, 13 felonies, larceny from a motor vehicle.
I guess each car or whatever.
Felony, drug possession.
And why am I picturing, based on everything I know about you, but
it was terrible.
I can picture you being drunk and get into all these cars looking for VHS.
I wish they had VHS days. I'm a VHS collector, those of you guys that don't know, so follow my page. No, shameless plug.
So
no, it was just
13 felonies because each car, or what?
And that was just 13 people who filed reports.
Oh shoot! How many cars was it?
Do you remember? Like the whole complex. I mean, you just go around. If the car's not locked, you go on to the next one. I'm a terrible person. I know. Like a lot of people. Hopefully you edit this. Like,
well, hopefully we started really good to where people are like, all right,
the hook,
dude. But I was so interested in that, and you were open to talk about it. So I'm like, dude, I would have never guessed that, and I guarantee you, how many people do you think know this about you?
Those that are close to me know, and some don't, and some
like
don't.
100 people, maybe
a
10
lot
of
people down here probably don't know about it. Just people that I've been in ministry. This is why like the Lord changed my life in a radical way. So I get to jail, and each day they would like bring me back up to the front and slap like 2 more felony charges because like more people would come forward. They ran my story on the news. Oh, he broke into my car. So I was actually like fighting cases that weren't me, but it was so disorienting because you're in like jail and all the evidence isn't with you, and they're saying you did this, and I'm like, I don't know if I had that. So like it was 5 to 15 years in prison was my guidelines, which basically means unless a miracle, like the judges are just going to go with whatever they recommend. And I had gotten saved. I was pretty suicidal. I was in jail for 4 months, 128 days, something like that.
How was that?
Oh, terrible. I mean, jail is probably worse than, I've never been to prison, but jail is like the worst because people aren't there for a long time, but I was. So I would watch population like fill up, empty, and because I was like looking at 5 to 15 years, like I wasn't pleading guilty to it. Like, you send me to prison, then like I was trying to fight a little bit of what I could. And after the first month of being pretty desperate, I remember sitting there, I was suicidal. I was on the floor in my jail cell, and I said, I was raised Catholic. I wasn't really like raised with knowing a lot of the Bible like hidden in my heart. So like I didn't know any scripture, but one scripture was coming to my mind and I didn't even know where it was. And Jesus says, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. And I said, well, if you're the way out, then show me a way out, because I've got no way out. Like, I'm not even 20. I'm 20 years old. I experienced my 21st birthday, not going out to the bar, nothing, in a jail cell. I turned 21 when
That's
I was
crazy.
locked up. So anyway, something a lot of people look forward to. I was just, in a totally different sense. And I said, if you're the way out, show me a way out. And I kid you not, this is the part of my story that's kind of crazy. I looked up because I felt like someone was in like the room, and I looked up, someone was in the doorway, and it was a chaplain from the jail, Forgotten Man Ministers, this backwoods like Pentecostal guy. And he goes, I don't know what you're going through, but I feel like God told me to come over here and tell you that he's the way out, and I'd like to pray with you. And I said that under my breath, Will. Like, I didn't like telegraph that. That's why. So I just broke down. I was like, come on in. Like, and we sat there for 3 hours, talked about like the Lord, and I mean, he taught me about the Holy Spirit and all this stuff. And I called my brother. My brother, not connected. He's also in ministries, 3 years older than me, pastors a church in Michigan. But at the time that this was happening, him and his wife were at Rhema. I didn't live in Tulsa. That's the connection, how I knew. They didn't live down here. They're not from here. They're just, the churches we've always been connected to are Word of Faith churches. So the hubs kind of in Broken Arrow, which not a bad place to live. It's where I lived. So, but anyway, I told him, hey, I think I got filled with the Holy Spirit. He's like, bro. So I got sent all of like Rhema's books free of charge while I was in correction, like locked up.
And this is month, what month over the 4 months is this?
So this is like month 2. I just so like started
right in the middle.
Yeah, so like first 30 days, super desperate, like trying to get by, trying to sleep all day and stay up all night. That was my technique.
Just so that way you wouldn't be around crazy people?
Yeah, crazies. The crazies, dude. And they want to play cards all day.
I've always wanted to go tour a jail. That's
about 20 people in a pod that 2 people do a room, but multiple pods, and then the day room. So your doors are popped, they're open. You're all amongst everyone during the day, and then your doors close and lock at midnight, and you're locked up from then till 7. Guards will come by to just check, but the lights never turn out.
They don't?
Never turn out.
So you get great sleep in there.
Oh,
with those sleep
you're
numbers.
Institutionalized is what I say. Dude, I got like ringworm like twice in jail. It's not, and I wasn't in a dirty, like I wasn't in like something like Tulsa County or something. I was in a pretty small like college town jail that had a lot of guys that weren't paying child support. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't anything too crazy, but being in there, making your permanent address the jail for 128 days, not knowing if my next address is a prison or what. I eventually, they took me up front. And they're like, you're going to get sentenced. And is there anything you want to tell me? And at that point, I had just been praying, right? Like
this is month 4.
This is like month 4. Yeah, coming up on month 4. And I'm just praying, now I'm like a different person. I'm chipper. I'm like, if I go to prison, it's because the Lord's got a plan. You know, I'm like a die hard, right? Yeah. Because I'm in jail. Like give your life to this or don't. Like, I mean, what's the alternative? So I was like, God, I'm going to give you a shot. I'm going to serve you the best I can. If you can get me out of this is great, but I'm not going to serve you because you're getting me out of this. And that's what the Bible teaches. Paul was locked up in prison when I read a lot of these letters, which was real to me in a real way. And I told the lady, I said, wherever you send me, I felt like God was telling me I was supposed to like tell this probation officer lady about Jesus, right? I'm in an orange jumpsuit and I'm like, just say something, see if it helps your cause. So I spoke up and I was like, look, I know you don't know me from anybody else, but all I pray is that if you send me to prison, you send me to a halfway house, or you let me out on house arrest, or you send me to rehab, wherever you send me, just send me to a place where like I legit have a shot. Cause like I'm done. And I said that to her. I was like, I've got Jesus in my life. I'm not saying that's a bulletproof vest by any means, but like I want to make it right this time. She looked at me and she's like, have you ever heard of Teen Challenge? Teen Challenge was given to me as an option by my father a year before that when I got arrested the first time.
Before you got on probation.
And my dad was like, hey, you got arrested, but like I think you need to clean your life up. Like just see if you can do this program. No, I would have had to drop out of school. It's a year-long program. Can't date my girlfriend. Like there's all these, you can't. Now I've got a probation officer saying, you can try your hand at going to prison or I'll send you to Teen Challenge like tomorrow. She sped it up. 2 more days.
So you think the only reason she brought that up is because she said that?
Because I spoke.
And you were, in your mind, you were already prepared to
I was looking at a good possibility of going to a halfway house in Grand Rapids, but I knew in my mind that if I went there, I was going to like do harder drugs than I probably did before, just because when you get put in an environment and you're stressed and like you have a addictive personality, like you just got to know you got to know yourself enough to be able to like be there for not only yourself, but your family. And it's
How long were you in Teen Challenge for?
So 13 months.
And then after that,
I graduate. No, I was off probation after. So I was on a year probation and I served a year at Teen Challenge. If I would have been a minute away from graduating and I slipped up and they like kicked me out or sent me home, I would have went back to Mecosta County and got re-sentenced on my original charges. So like it was do or die. So like now I'm in Teen Challenge. I'm like raising in the ranks, so to speak. I'm a dorm captain and I'm having to like get on to 50-year-old men for not making their bed. Because it's like a disciplined thing. It was very humbling.
Yeah.
And the pastor, this is how it comes full circle. The pastor at Teen Challenge was the one who gave me that advice, that your gift will always make a way. Because he was the one that said, Matt, no matter whether you're a youth pastor, not a pastor, just living a successful life as a Christian, just always be humble. Like, just always be humble and always be teachable. And when you do those two things, your gift's always going to make a way, is what he always said. So do not take it out of context. Like, there is some prerequisites, just like the word is a lot of times an equation, right? If this, then this. So put it into faith, because this doesn't look like you want it to until you, that's a word of faith thing.
Dude,
so just speak it into existence, get it into your mind. And like, so I was like, video. I don't know anything. I go to a church that, like, at the time I was going to the church and the video department's insane. So I was like, I'm just going to ask some questions. This is free education. And like, we live in America. Like, just go make it happen.
Yeah.
And Jenna came home one day and I was like selling a piece of our furniture. She's like, why'd you do that? I was like, I bought a camera. She's like, what are you going to do with that? I was like, I don't know. I was like, maybe I can make enough money to pay for the camera. That's what I said. Like, that was my start point. That was my vision. But I heard multi-million-dollar media, and I was like, if I don't ever start, we'll never know what it could be. So
I wish we could have literally wrapped it up there with your gift will make a way. But the last thing that I want to touch on is just because yesterday I was part of this mastermind through Zoom, and I was kind of me and another guy were having a conversation with another guy about, we're in the same line of business. This other guy has a big team. I have a team.
Sure.
This other guy doesn't have a team, and he's trying to go around and do everything himself. And he's saying like, he's like, I can't do coaching because I don't have time. I can't do this because I don't have time. Well, once you truly took the risk and went on your own. You started off with $250,000, but the only reason you've had the success that you've had is because of the help of not only your wife, but you have a team now of like 12 plus people or so.
Yep.
And so can you touch on that for anybody listening that's not in media, maybe in media, not in real estate, but I mean, you probably see this with real estate agents all the time.
Yeah.
That they could do so much more.
They could do so much more, but so it's twofold. It's kind of, you're right. I could have been happy with making like $250K a year. I mean, that's like more, I'm a felon. You know what I'm saying?
And I'm sure that if you were in ministry before, you're probably making way more.
I was making like peanuts and working like 80 hours a week and doing it for the Lord, and praise God. Like, but I saw a little bit more, and I knew that little taste of selling cars. I had great success with very hard clients, and that pushed me. That was like, I can land someone that doesn't want to be landed. That's a psychological thing, not in a bad way, but in a, like, I've been sold. I like when I'm sold and taken care of. I like the process.
Dude.
Because if I didn't, I wouldn't even be there. I wouldn't even be like in your restaurant or at your store, whatever it is. So like, like everyone's in front of you. But you were saying, sorry, you were.
I just want to know like the importance of truly having people around you in order to grow.
You can find success by yourself only to a certain extent. And then you have to decide whether that's enough or your vision's bigger. I knew the vision was way bigger than $250K a year. That's great. But that's like, in our world, that's not even working with like a majority of the population. Like, there's so much more room to grow. And it's not like the need's not there. I see all these houses hitting the market with lackluster photos, no videos, no extra branding. The agent's just doing their own video, and that's great. And that's fine. And I think you need to do that as well. There's no such thing as too much, but scaling a team, I had to decide, was it worth it? the stresses, the headaches, the systems and processes that need to be invented that aren't invented. What worked for Matt as a solo entrepreneur isn't going to work for a team. We've got to kind of redo this. And I made my wife, it was like after year 1.5, I would say, Jenna saw me one day and I was like working on a project and I just would shoot all day and edit all night. I mean, it was like I was the owner. The buck stopped with me. There was no anyone else. And I was like, how do you do this? So I knew I had to like start bringing people on to take pieces of it so everyone could get their piece of the pie. And I knew that was going to eat into profit, right? When you're a real estate agent, if I can do my own photos, I save my own money and then the house still sells. So like, I didn't need good media. Well, like your brand might have suffered a little bit. Like those photos were pretty like sketchy that were posted, but maybe you're right. Maybe the house was going to sell anyway. It doesn't really matter. It's more so buying in why you would need it, why you would need to drive a Volkswagen opposed to this, or why adding that value. And if you can see that, I promise it'll perform by X, Y, and Z because we've seen it with all of our other clients. But do you believe it? So I needed help to do that. And I was about 40 invoices in the hole, and I'm still working on new projects. And Jenna's like, what are you doing? You're never going to get paid. Like you're not stopping. So let me take over like the books and the website and the social media. Jenna was always doing our social media. Like in the early days she oversees the team that does our social media now, but it's a little baby within a baby that she's kind of developed. And I was like, I don't want you waiting for me to make decisions anymore. I trust you. You have the vision of this business just like I do, and you're a whole lot better at a lot of things than I am. Like I like to have visionary things, but like Jenna's like already done with it.
Yeah.
Like it's already like typed out, done, and like just needs you to approve. That's what I needed. And I was like, what do you need to be? CEO? Like you need to be co-owner? Like run with this thing. The minute I did, that's when you probably started noticing us a little bit more because we exploded organically. Like our reach really got a lot bigger, whether it was from social accounts or our website getting revamped. We don't do quotes. All of our stuff is on our website. Like if it's for a house, it's dependent on how large it is and what services you want. So you enter in how large it is, and then all the services that populate, they already have prices on. There's no like, I didn't want to answer my phone giving price quotes. I'm like out shooting or meeting with clients or whatever. So I had to figure out a way to like make a smart vending machine is what Vast was.
So it started with you realizing that you couldn't do it all by yourself.
Yep.
But then also the other thing that I listen you tell me is something that I feel like I see a lot of myself, and it's knowing what you're really good at.
Yeah.
And knowing what you're not good at all.
Yeah.
Because so many people they don't, whether they think like, I'm just not very good at this, and they are good at it, or they're like, I can do it all. But it's like, and then, man, so the thing that you said was, if what you're currently doing by yourself is good enough, but it's not bigger than your vision, that's whenever you need help. I love that, dude.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah,
I really
dude.
appreciate you. I really can tell I'm probably going to have you back on because I love this, dude. I'm actually, throughout this whole thing, I'm curious. So when did Jenna come in the picture?
So Jenna came into the picture when I moved down to Tulsa.
This is how many?
So 2015, Jenna found me. We met on a dating website, and Christian Mingle. She slid right into my DMs.
Wait, is it really?
No, I swear to God.
Christian Mingle?
You want to know the funniest thing? It was Christian Mingle, and both of us were too cheap to pay for the accounts. So I made my name M Giesow, and my profile said, "Hi, my name is Matt." I go, if she can't find me on Facebook, I don't want to be with her anyway. And Jenna found me through a mutual friend. She's grew up here in Coweta. I'm from Brighton, Michigan. Like, go blue. I didn't say anything about Michigan on this podcast.
I know.
National championships, baby. Let's go.
Dude, you lost your coach, though. He's in the pros now.
Yeah, thank you for your service, Jim.
Dude,
you did what we brought you in.
Where can people find you?
I'm on Instagram, just at Matt Giesow. I run, you mentioned on my Tulsa Tapes account, I collect VHS and retro stuff at Tulsa Tapes. And, of course, at Vast Media 2_. So
there we go. You got to change your username to Matt on the Echo. Matt on the Echo.
The Echo.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks
Appreciate
so much,
it.
Will. Appreciate you, man.